So my topic is energy efficiency challenges and experience in Lithuanian building sector. The idea of this presentation is to show our achievement in Lithuania. For some our colleagues, this is not new, but I think for our guests, it will be interesting to see our achievement and to see problems in our systems. So I'm from Vilnius Gediminas Technical University, and actually I had experience with the Nordic Energy Research fundings. In 2002, I received funding for my PhD studies. So I was in Iceland, I was in Denmark. So I'm a living example that we have quite a strong cooperation with the Nordic countries, and it helps me and our other students to work in this field, in this sector. So first I'm just show short introduction about our system, about how big is our building sector is. So what you see here is that in 2013 about 44% of our final energy consumption was used in building sector. So I'm talking about electricity, heat, and other thing. Total annual heat demand for the whole building sector, it's about 27 terawatt hours. It's not very exact figure, it changes each year. I think you know that we are strong in district heating, so about 10 terawatt hours annually we use in this district heating. You see here the data about the buildings. You see the number of buildings, and you see the definition. You see the difference. So in the total area. So you see that if we calculate the number of buildings, the biggest number is the residential buildings. But if we look into the total area, we see that non-residential buildings has a bigger area. So it's 207 million square meters. So this is non-residential buildings. It's not very important to see to look in these detailed figures. What I need to say that not all the buildings are connected to heating. So this is just statistical data from our statistics department in Lithuanian department. And what you see here is that almost 60% of total area is for the agriculture buildings. Other type is industry, transport, storage, and garage. But if we go to residential buildings, because here we use most our heat in this area, so you can find here that the biggest amount of buildings, number of buildings, there are 1 or 2 apartment buildings, and about 38,000 buildings, they are multi-story buildings or multi-apartment buildings. Most problems, they are here in this sector, and if you look to the area, you see that half area is for the multi-story, multi-apartment building, and half area is for the other buildings. So when we talk about individual buildings, it means that in most cases heating is organized by individually. So it means that this is the problem for individual users. When we talk about multi-story buildings, in most cases these buildings, they are connected to district heating companies. So how changed our energy demand in our building sector? So what you see here is just a representation. What is the energy consumption for heating, ventilation in in the buildings, in the old buildings. As you see later, the biggest part of our building sector is the old buildings. And what you see here, this is our goal. So nearly zero energy buildings. This is our goal, and we want to achieve this goal. I could say from 1993, we changed building codes, and requirements for insulation changed dramatically. So what you see here is our consumption dropped, of course. But unfortunately, during this 20 years, 30 years, we don't build much buildings, new buildings. So most of our buildings, they are old, they are inefficient, and there is a lack of regulation possibilities. So actually here we need to focus, we need to change the efficiency, and here is the big challenge to achieve this nearly zero energy consumption. This is actual calculations according for 1,500 square meters building. So what you see here is the whole building consumption, and what you see is the classes according to which we define a low energy building. So you see here if you will want to build a new building from 2016, our demand for this building, for the heating, it could be 23 kilowatt hours per square meter. If we compare with the old buildings, you see the difference. I could say the one problem is here when we talk about old buildings, when we want to modernize the old buildings. According to our requirements now, it's enough to achieve this level, and you can get some funding from the programs. So it means that we modernize buildings, and these buildings, they are actually old. They are not meeting these requirements. And I think this is one of the main areas where science could help, because it's not simple to go from here to here, because we need to introduce renewables, we need to introduce different solutions, difficult solutions, complex solutions. And here I think I see opportunities for scientists. Okay, so this is just simple explanation how good to modernize buildings, because you can lower your energy consumption by half. But as you see here, the share of these buildings, it's about 4.6%. About 80% of all the buildings, multi-story buildings, they are old, and they consume quite a lot. Short introduction about administration of multi-apartment buildings. So as you see here, it's just 17% of buildings, they are administrated by homeowners association. I think this is one of the main problems why modernization is not going so well. Joint activity agreement is about 3%. So what you see here, it's about 20% buildings. They have administrators who talk with the owners, with the users in the building. About 80% of the buildings, they also have manager, they also have administrator, but this administrator is appointed by the municipality. So not always there is a strong connection between users and administrator. So here is very short presentation about different programs which were established in building sector, and I will start from household, from residential buildings. And you see the first program is for the renovation. It started from 2005 and it's continuing now. It changes in different forms. It has different forms, different solutions. There is also programs for development of municipal problems areas. In this case, we have different different financing scheme, and in this case, the financing is much heavier than for example, in this first program. Also, Ignalina program, this is also very similar to programs for the development of municipal program areas. So what you see here, it's time schedule representation of different programs which were established in Lithuania from 1990s. So you see the first project, pilot project, was funded by World Bank, and actually it was a very successful project. One of the biggest success in the Europe. And as you see here, there was about 700 buildings renovated. Heat substations were changed, some measures were implemented, and I think this success helped to start new projects with the renovation in 2005. You see, from 2005 we have, I could say, now we are in the third phase. It started from 2013. We have little bit different support scheme, because this Jessica project was not very successful. As you see here, it just said that it's renovated about 400 buildings, and it's starting to slow down. So after some improvement, now this project from 2013 is starting to I think, to grow faster, much faster than it was during these 5 years. And I think we having some results, good results. This is a new program. As I told you, this is some data about fixed interest rate, and there is a possibility to get until 2014. So it's old data. Now you can get grant from government from this program about 30% of total investment, and this is additional help to move with this project. So actually, it's moving on. I think we have some problems with the fundings, but I think it's the number of buildings. It's about 1,000 multi-story buildings. So if you compare with this 400, 300, so we could say that during these 2 years we achieved quite a big success. What you see here, we have also different programs in other sector, in public sector, and what you see here, it's different programs for educational institutions, for the libraries, for the cultural centers, and so on. So what you see here, it's combined results during this project. It's about 650 buildings, and what you see here, it's about 321 million euros spent for this project. This is other projects also funded by different sources, and also you see the Ignalina program and so on. So these programs, they are for the public buildings, for schools, healthcare centers, and so on. New funding system started, and Lithuania has obligation from 2014, 3% of surface area of public buildings, they should be modernized annually. And you see, this is the goal for Lithuania. So it means that during this process we need to modernize about 500,000 square meters of public authorities buildings. So I'm coming to the end of my presentation, and this is just some remarks. Of course, we had very good experience in different fields. We could talk about this later, but I think I need to also point out some problems or some discussion. So, why we had problems with the residential buildings? Because 97% of apartments, they are private owned, and I think there is such example in the world. So, and in order to start modernization, for example, in multi-story building, we need to get at least half plus one users which agree to do modernization. So this is the main problem is in this case. Other problem is, I said that now our requirements for the modernized buildings, they are too low. So it means that our requirement for the new buildings, they are quite harder than for the old buildings. So after modernization, these buildings, they are not achieving the energy demand requirements. So it means that we don't have demo projects. And in this area, we can think that scientists could help to develop these demo projects. So it could help to establish the good examples, and we can show for the people how we can achieve these results. As an example, ventilation system. So all these multi-story buildings, they are now insulated. We increase the insulation in the buildings, we increase the tightness of the building, and of course we will have problems with the ventilation. The main problem with the ventilation is that it does not save energy. And if you look into the payback time, it does not look very good. And it requires very high investment. So this measure is taken out from the mechanical ventilation system, is taken out from multi-story buildings program, and I think we will face problem in the future where we introduce more buildings, when we renovate more buildings. So I see in this point that we don't have big financing for this kind of problems, for this research problems. And also the problem is that if you look into the results from different programs, you will find that there is no detailed data about the results. So it means that monitoring is not performed well. So here also the opportunity for our scientists to calculate, to evaluate this process, and to say how much we save. Is it possible to save more with more efficient solutions? So thank you for your attention, and what you see here is the picture from our laboratory in Vilnius Gediminas Technical University. So this is the advertisement for our laboratory. In this laboratory we have different solutions for the buildings, for the renewables technologies in the building, and we try from 2011 to evaluate, to investigate different renewables in the building. So thank you. Do you have any questions?